You won't believe what went down inside this courtroom. A once feared, seemingly untouchable judge publicly humiliated a seasoned attorney, but in a shocking twist just minutes later, the tables turned hard, leaving him in handcuffs. What led to this jaw-dropping moment will leave you speechless. Before we dive in, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. And if you love gripping real-life stories like this, make sure to hit that subscribe button, because tomorrow, we've got another must-watch story coming your way. Now, let's get into it. Jasmine Crockett was no stranger to high-stakes battles. Before stepping into politics as a congresswoman, she spent years in the courtroom, first as a criminal defense attorney fighting for the voiceless, then as a relentless advocate for justice. But nothing could have prepared her for what was about to happen today. The courtroom she walked into that morning belonged to Judge Howard Gates, a man notorious for his sharp tongue, unpredictable rulings, and barely concealed bias. The case she carried with her? Not just another file, this was a powder keg. A high-profile corruption scandal involving a wealthy real estate developer with deep political connections. The allegations? Explosive. State funds funneled into private ventures. And Jasmine had been appointed as the special prosecutor, determined to bring the truth to light. But from the very moment she stepped forward, the air shifted. Tense. Unwelcoming. Judge Gates barely even glanced at her as she reached the prosecution table. Instead, he casually flipped through a file, deliberately slow, stretching the silence. A silence that carried weight. And when he finally spoke, his words dripped with disdain. "Miss Crockett, I trust you have something worthwhile to present. Or shall we skip ahead to the part where you waste my time with your theatrics?" A few chuckles echoed from the defense team. But Jasmine? Unshaken. She stood tall. "Your Honor, the evidence speaks for itself. This case involves the misuse of taxpayer money. My job is to lay out the facts, clearly and accurately." Judge Gates leaned back, feigning boredom. Taxpayer money, huh? Because that's never been the basis for baseless accusations before, right? Jasmine's jaw tightened, but she kept her tone even. "With all due respect, Your Honor, I wouldn't call charges of corruption and fraud baseless." Their eyes locked. His cold, calculating. Hers, steady, unyielding. But before she could say another word, he cut her off. "Miss Crockett, spare me the lectures. Get to the point. I don't have time to indulge your progressive fantasies." A murmur rippled through the gallery. Something felt off. Everyone could sense it. This wasn't just a tough judge. This felt personal. Jasmine stayed composed. She picked up a folder and opened it. "Your Honor, I'd like to direct the court's attention to Exhibit A. These financial records clearly show." "Do you always bury people in paperwork, Miss Crockett?" he snapped. "Or is this just your way of covering up a weak argument?" The tension spiked. The defense attorney smirked. But Jasmine? Still unshaken. She paused, then calmly set the folder down. "Your Honor," she said, steady as ever, "if this is personal, I'd be happy to request a recess to discuss any professional concerns you may have." A subtle pushback. Respectful, but firm. A quiet message. "I won't be intimidated." Judge Gates smirked. "Oh, I don't have concerns, Miss Crockett. I just see a weak case in front of me." This time, the reaction was immediate. Gasps. Whispers. Raised eyebrows. Judges were supposed to be impartial. But this was blatant. Still, Jasmine didn't flinch. "Then I suppose we should let the evidence do the talking." She projected a document onto the screen, financial records exposing clear funding discrepancies. But before she could continue, he interrupted again. "I hate to interrupt your presentation. Truly I do," he scoffed. "But I think we've all seen enough numbers for one day." "Your Honor, these numbers are the foundation of the case." "Sure," he shot back. "And yet I see nothing here that justifies wasting this court's time." It was clear now. He wasn't just dismissing her. He was trying to shut this case down. But Jasmine wasn't done. She reached for the next document. "Your Honor, I'd like to submit a motion." Denied. She looked up, startled. "I haven't even stated the motion. And yet, I already know it's going nowhere." The tension snapped tight. The entire room felt it. People weren't just watching anymore, they were experiencing it. Something was wrong. And Jasmine knew it. Judge Gates wasn't just hostile, he was protecting something. But he didn't realize so was she. "Very well," she said smoothly. "Then let's proceed." She switched the display, revealing a contract between the developer and city planning. Then came the twist. She placed a second document beside it, an internal ledger showing the developer had received twice the approved budget. And then a third document, a signature. Judge Howard Gates. The room erupted. Jasmine turned to him. "Your Honor, would you care to explain why your signature appears on an unauthorized financial transaction involving the defendant?" For the first time, Judge Gates had nothing to say. His face stone cold. "That document is inadmissible," he muttered. "How so?" Jasmine asked. "It was obtained improperly. Your Honor, it was subpoenaed by my office. Then it was mishandled. It won't be considered." But the damage was done. Everyone had seen it. The jury, the bailiffs, the reporters. No one could unsee what just happened. And Jasmine wasn't finished. She reached into her briefcase, pulled out a small recorder, and pressed play. A voice echoed through the courtroom. "Take care of it. I don't care how. Make sure she doesn't get her hands on those ledgers." A stunning silence. Everyone knew that voice. Judge Gates. Jasmine let the recording hang in the air. Then, softly, "The real question is, who are you talking to, Your Honor?" He exploded in anger, but it was too late. She slid a final document forward. A transcript. The exact word-for-word wiretap of that recording. She turned to the bailiff. "Officer Reynolds, would you please read the highlighted section?" And then, the words that shattered the courtroom. "We'll take care of her. If Crockett has anything solid, I'll make sure it never reaches a courtroom." Chaos. Gasps. Reporters scrambling. Cameras flashing. Judge Gates slammed his gavel. "This hearing is over." But Jasmine? She stood tall. "I wasn't asking for your permission." A door opened. Footsteps echoed. "Judge Howard Gates, you are under arrest." For the first time in his career, Judge Gates was silent. Handcuffs clicked shut. And justice was served.